When global crises erupt, the question we often ask is, what happens next? But there's a more important question. What have we already learned and ignored? Former CIA officer Scott Ritter isn't guessing. He's issuing a warning. Speaking on his YouTube channel, Ritter reacted to Israel's dramatic strike on Iran by pointing to a much larger issue. The most obvious conclusion is, the US cannot be trusted. Iran tried to engage in dialogue, and look how it ended. Why should Russia trust the US? This isn't emotion, it's intelligence logic. It's the voice of someone who understands how decisions are made behind closed doors and what happens when public words and private actions don't match. On the night of June 13th, Israel launched a surprise operation against key Iranian infrastructure, including critical nuclear facilities and the headquarters of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, in Tehran. In response, Iran fired waves of drones and missiles at Israel, at least 4 waves of retaliation, according to open sources. This escalation came after weeks of heightened tension and diplomatic gestures. And Ritter's takeaway is simple. When the US says, "We want peace," it might actually mean, "We're buying time." When Washington talks about wanting diplomacy, they're just waiting for the right moment to strike. It's a disturbing claim. But it's not baseless. According to reporting from Axios, Israel consulted with US authorities before the strike. Washington, as sources put it, was not opposed to the action, which means the US knew and didn't stop it. That sends a very clear message, not just to Tehran, but to Moscow as well. Ritter isn't speaking as a critic. He's speaking as a former insider, and his message to Russia is direct. Iran made the mistake of trusting US diplomacy. Russia can't afford to do the same. If the US quietly supports attacks on a sovereign nation while publicly preaching restraint, what guarantees can Moscow expect in any negotiation? This isn't about Iran anymore. It's about a pattern of diplomacy masking force, of negotiations used as cover. The takeaway for Russia? Don't mistake polite language for real intent. President Donald Trump later confirmed that he knew in advance about Israel's plan to strike. He didn't condemn it. He didn't try to stop it. He simply said it was a good operation, a word that, in Trump's world, often hides more than it reveals. Even more telling, Trump's social media post about the event was deleted and then reposted without changes, a clear sign of hesitation, possibly nerves. Meanwhile, journalist Tucker Carlson's team openly accused Trump of escalating the Middle East conflict. So here's the real question. If the US quietly greenlights preemptive strikes, what does that say about its role as a security partner? Ritter says what many are thinking, but few are willing to say publicly. What's happening in Iran is a test, not just for Tehran, but for the entire international system. If one superpower tolerates or facilitates strikes against another sovereign nation's infrastructure, the post-World War II security framework begins to crack. What happens when diplomacy becomes theater and war becomes policy? Ritter's warning to Russia is clear. Never mistake US dialogue for commitment. When the US says, "Let's negotiate," it may already be calculating how to gain the upper hand, militarily or otherwise. You don't negotiate with someone who weaponizes diplomacy. This isn't a call to war. It's a call to clarity. In a world of shifting alliances and silent nods, watch the actions, not the statements.